Started. Welcome to the show, Crystal.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. So, what's your clean date or sober date?
It is November 2nd of 2020.
Okay, so you got coming up on 3 years.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So what was going on with you November 1st of 2020?
I was in rehab. I was checking myself into rehab. I was 8 months pregnant and very active addiction. Like, my addiction was bad. It was waking up every morning, no breakfast, no brushing my teeth, going straight to getting high.
What was your drug of choice at the end?
It was heroin and meth.
A mixture of the two?
Mm-hmm.
And where are you from?
I'm from San Antonio, Texas.
Okay, you're the second person I've had from Texas in the last week.
Oh, good. That means we're doing something right over here.
Or wrong.
Yeah.
Now your parents, are they still together, or are you an only child, or what's going on with your family life?
So I have a total of 5 kids. One of my sons was adopted. I had him in active addiction. My cousin adopted him, and still see him every day. So I have 4 boys and 1 girl. I have 2 grandkids. My grandson's gonna be 4, and my granddaughter is a week old.
Oh, that's awesome! Congrats on the new one.
Thank you. And my mom and my dad are not together. My dad was incarcerated he got a sentence of 58 years back when I was 3. He was in active addiction. His drug of choice was heroin and cocaine. My mother also was in active addiction. She's been clean 23 years, maybe more. Hers was cocaine. She's been with my stepdad, I want to say maybe like 20 plus years already. And they're both clean. I had 2 brothers. I lost my brother January 28th of 2021 to an overdose caused by fentanyl.
So you grew up with a pretty stable life because your stepdad stepped in. Now, can I ask how he got 58 years in active addiction?
My real dad got 58 years. He had 17 aggravated robberies. Yeah.
Well, that'll do it.
Yeah.
That'll do it. Is he still? Well, yeah, obviously he's still in. You're not 50.
He's not in. He's out. He of course, when you do a lot of time in prison, you become like, you have to join like gangs or whatnot. And he actually joined a program that would like separate. I don't even remember the name of the program, but he joined the program to help him get out early. And my dad's been out, I want to say, about 10 years.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So at least you have to serve the full 58 because, fucking up in your 20s and being in active addiction, I'm glad people can realize that and give him a second chance at life.
Yeah, he did 19 years and 11 months.
Now, growing up around addiction being so prevalent in your life, when did you discover drugs or alcohol?
I was 13.
Was it drinking first?
It was drinking, and of course marijuana, and then I went to Xanax. From Xanax, I went to heroin, experimented a little bit, didn't really like it. Coke, I did cocaine, and then I ended up. My 2 older kids, their father went to prison. I really didn't even know what heroin really was. Like, I had just experimented that one time. I found out my son's father, he was in active addiction, found syringes, balloons, all kinds of stuff. He ended up going to prison, and I went wild. I started meeting guys that would sell drugs. I was like, really quick, I was intrigued with that lifestyle. Like, it just went from 0 to 100 real quick. And I ended up marrying him, my ex-husband, and we sold drugs together, did drugs together. The more we sold, the more we did. And it got really out of hand to where my mom ended up calling CPS on me. And I had a case for like 2.5 years, and the CPS workers were like, "We've never had a case open this long. You just won't cooperate." So I ended up going to prison, and they terminated my rights for my 3 older children, and my mom got custody of them. Came
Well,
home.
at least they went to your mom and not like a random stranger in the foster care.
No, they went to my mom. My mom took custody of all 3 of them.
Well, that was good. Plus, she was clean, so she felt like it was the right thing to do.
Yes.
How long did you have to go to jail for?
It was a total that time. I want to say about 8 months. I went to state jail.
Did you stay clean while in jail, or are you still getting high in jail?
Still getting high.
Yeah, I've been told it's easy to get in there.
It's not as easy for the the way it is for the guys. It's a little harder for the girls. But still, I had this one friend that would go to her visits and come back with Xanax. So we were it's just crazy. Like anything that you can get your hand on in jail, pills that aren't even like prescribed to you, like you don't even know what they're gonna do to you, but it's just the thought of doing something that's gonna. It's more.
Numb.
Yeah.
Now, why do you think you wanted to numb at 13 years old with drinking?
I think I was looking for love in all the wrong places. I ended up losing my virginity at 13. I told my kid's father that I was 16. I was 13. He was 16. And it just became pretty bad.
Did drinking? Did you finish school?
I didn't finish school. I didn't get my high school diploma until 2021.
So you got that in sobriety.
Yes.
What year did you drop out?
2000.
I mean, what grade?
It would be I was in ninth grade, and I didn't even finish it. I don't even remember going probably to school for like 3 weeks total.
Now, how come you wanted to drop out at such a young age?
I wanted to be with my son's father. He was very controlling, very verbal abusive, and I guess it was just to make him happy that I wanted to be at home with him.
Because he had dropped out at this point.
Yeah.
And now he's 19?
Yes.
Did he have his own place already?
Nope. We were living with his grandma at the time.
Selling drugs?
With him, it was different. With my kid's father, he stole cars and was selling them to, at the time, he didn't know they were undercover cops. So he would make money like selling guns, stealing cars, anything he would find in cars. He would sell them radios, systems, stuff like that.
Yeah, selling cars is not to a cop. Like, I've heard of people selling drugs to an undercover cop, but selling cars to an undercover cop, that's on a whole new level of fucked.
Yeah.
Did you know he was stealing cars and shit?
I knew he was stealing cars because it's pretty weird. It's pretty like, I don't know. Just now that I think about it, it's weird. Like my family and his family, they're all from the same neighborhood, so everybody knew everybody. And to me, it was like something everybody did because my cousin on my side of the family, they would steal cars too. So to me, it was like it was something that it was just used to.
That's crazy that in such a small town, you had your family and then another family that were both into stealing cars.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, stealing and selling them to who were they selling them to? Besides the cops.
Well, I didn't know about the cops until he got arrested. But like the stealing the radios and the systems, it was really like anybody that would buy the stuff. Like,
So he didn't have a fence or anything.
no.
So okay, he was doing it all on his own will. But he was able to afford a drug habit at that point.
When he was doing that, I didn't know anything he was doing. I just thought it was weed. I didn't know anything. I didn't find out till I took him to a corner store. He said he was gonna buy a beer. I looked in his backpack and I found this. It was like a black pouch, and when I opened it, I like freaked out because I had seen people like, but to actually see somebody that at the time that you love and you care for, like there's needles, there's spoons, there's drugs, like, and you know what it's being used for, you just like, I don't, you never expect it to be somebody that you love.
Did you call him out on it?
I did. I called him out on it, and he denied it at first. And I remember I told him to get off my car because I had my two older kids. They were probably like 4 and 1 at the time. And I threw him out the car and I left him. And then I find out he gets arrested.
And he got arrested next because he was doing drugs or because of the stolen car selling to a cop?
He got caught stealing, and that's when he went to jail.
Did you stay living with his grandmom?
I did. For 2 years, I stayed living with them, and then find out that he has these girls writing to him. He was a really big cheater. Like, he was always with different women. It's just crazy because I can't believe I put up with all that.
So you had kids at an early age?
I was 15 when I had my first son.
Okay.
By the time I was 21, I had 3.
Okay, so that would explain that. Also, that have anything to do with you dropping out?
Yes, it did.
Just because it wasn't accepted in school, or they wanted you, or they did?
So I went to John Jay, and when I was pregnant, in the 9th grade, I was attending like their program that they had for pregnant moms, and I remember them sending me to the office because I had on a dress, and they told me I couldn't wear a dress, and my mom went up there and was like, "She can't wear a dress, but you got these girls up there with little skirts and little shirts, and she's pregnant wearing." It was a long dress. And they told her, yeah, that I wasn't allowed to wear a dress and that they were going to expel me from school. So I was like, well, what's the point of expelling me? I just won't come back anymore. So I never went back to school.
Until, obviously, later on.
Yeah.
Now, 21 years old, does your drinking escalate because you turned 21?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it did. It went like, I was at the clubs, I want to say from Wednesday to Sunday, I was at the clubs all the time.
Because your husband was in jail at this point.
I had already left him. I was like back and forth. I was just looking for love in all the wrong places. I was back and forth, and just meeting different people, hooking up with them at the club, thinking it was cool. That's when I met my ex-husband, and that's when my life just went to hell, went to shits.
Now, how fast did it go to hell?
I want to say like within 6 months, it was bad.
Now, did you know he was also doing heroin?
So my ex-husband wasn't doing heroin when I first met him. I was very attracted to the fact that he sold a lot of cocaine, and to just be with somebody that has a lot of money. Like at the time, like they're showing you like all the what you think is love, buying you all this stuff, taking you to the clubs, showing you like just I don't know. It was like showing you all the things that you could get with so much money. And then one day, I think it was the guy he was buying drugs from was like, "Hey, you can make more money if you sell heroin." And he's like, "Well, what's that?" And I was like, "Nah, you don't want to do that. Like, just keep doing it. Keep selling coke. Like, we'll be okay." Nah, he didn't want to do that. He wanted more money, obviously, and started selling heroin. And then my cousins were already hooked on heroin. They were shooting dope all the time. So like really quick, a lot of our like my family became our customers. Excuse me. A lot of the people that were from the neighborhood became all our like best customers. It was crazy because it was everything happened so fast that he wanted to try it, and he asked my cousin like, "Hey, well, what's up? Give me a syringe. Let me try it." He had never snorted heroin in his life. He went straight to shooting dope. And from then, it spiraled for him. He went to shooting dope, to smoking crack, to having tripping. That's when the abuse started, where he started like beating me up. Um, it wasn't the same anymore. Like I knew like I was only with him because of what he was giving me, not because I loved him.
Did you try heroin once he started it?
Yeah.
Now, what made it different from 19 to 23 that your mind changed to leaving somebody and being upset with somebody for having heroin to all of a sudden, was it because your family was doing it too? Like, kind of peer
And,
pressure.
no, it wasn't peer pressure. It was just like, okay, fuck it. Everybody else is doing it. Why not do it too? Like we have it all day. Like why not just, we don't have to go looking for it anywhere else. Let's just get high. And I tried it. I liked it. I went from buying $25 worth of dope to doing $125 a day. And that was snorting. And then when that didn't hit me anymore, I went to shooting dope.
That makes sense, the progression.
Yeah.
And did you have your kids still at this point?
I did. I did. I had all three of the older ones.
And how long does it take for your mom catches on to what's happening? Because obviously, as you know, now that you're clean, you can kind of spot if somebody's not clean when talk. Like, how long does it take her to realize something's going on besides drinking?
I think she noticed it right away. I think she knew the change. She saw the weight loss. She saw the way like I didn't care about my appearance anymore. Um, how I was just always looking for somebody to pawn my kids off to. Um, she noticed it like quick, and she knew it was getting out of hand.
Did she confront you about it?
She did lots of times, and of course I'd be like, I just smoke weed, like you just tripping, like, and she knew. She knew.
But she also knew that she couldn't talk you into going to treatment or anything like that because she's been there before.
She tried. She did try. I've been to 6 rehabs, and the last one was the one where it. I'm not even gonna lie. Like the last rehab that I went to didn't. I wasn't even ready until 4 days before I got out. I spoke to my brother that Wednesday before he passed, and he was like, my mom had already told me he was pretty bad and meth. They didn't know he was using heroin. Like we were just experimenting. Like that's all I knew because he would just come in, hey, can I have a line or whatever, right? And so she didn't know he was using heroin. And when I spoke to him that Wednesday, he tells me, I remember telling him, like, I'm going to make sure to get you some help. Like, I'm going to, he had just had his daughter, and I'm like, I'm going to get you help. I'll be there to support you in every way, da 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 da. But 4 days before I'm supposed to get out of rehab, I get a phone call that my brother passed away. Yeah.
It's never an easy phone call.
I was on an NA meeting, and my counselor tells me to get off the phone that she needs to tell me something. So I'm immediately like, you can tell when somebody wants to tell you something bad, like something bad's coming. And I'm like, well, what's up? Just tell me, like, what's going on? And they're like, it's your brother. And I'm like, wait, which brother? And she's like, sit down. And I'm like, nah, just tell me. Like, and she's like, I really need you to sit down. So I remember sitting down, and she's like, it's your brother Marco. And I'm like, well, what's wrong with him? And she's like, we found your brother dead this morning.
And that was the end of October of 2020?
It was January 21st. January 28th of 2021.
Oh, so this was like 3 months into being sober. You're on your pink cloud at that point. And then obviously it burst early on. Did that cause you to dive deeper into the program or kind of?
I tell everybody, like, a lot of people fake it to make it when you're at rehab, right? Just to get your people to get off your back. I believe I was still doing that. And I think not until I got that phone call and it all sunk in that I had lost my best friend, that I was like, it scared the shit out of me. Like, I could do anything And of course, like I said, I was pregnant. I didn't have my son till December 22nd. So, I already had my son when they told me my brother passed away. So, like, at that time, I was already getting, like, those, like, awakenings that you start to get, like, man, I'm going to have another kid and I'm going to have to get into the system. And then my brother passed away, and I was like, you know what? I'm scared. If I even, like, try to go out and get high again, what if I die and I have my son with me? Like, what kind of memory would that be? Like, you never got to meet your kid because you died of an overdose. Like, you went back into using after they had just told you that your brother died. So I was like, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So I was like, okay, let's try this. I got out and I knew my mom needed me.
This podcast is also sponsored by BetterHelp. If you are looking for therapy and not able to get something right away locally, you can do that with them. Within 48 hours, you can find a therapist to get on telehealth with you. I mean, I haven't heard anything but great things from people that have already done it, that watch my show or listen to my show. If you're looking to get 10% off your first month, you can go to betterhelp.com/MJsPNPMCA. That is betterhelp.com/MJsPNPMCA.
Um, Finding out my brother had died from fentanyl poisoning was like the hardest thing I've ever faced in my life. And then trying to like maintain sobriety, like I've had a lot of people tell me like, I'm proud of you because you dealt with the death and you stayed sober. And felt really good, but at the same time I was really angry at myself. Like I was angry at myself. I was angry at my brother. Like I was the bad one. Like I was the fucked up one. Like I was the one on drugs. I was the one selling drugs. I'm the one that got my brother to sell drugs. Like what kind of a fucking big sister was I? Like, you're supposed to be the role model. You're supposed to be the one that teaches them better and shows them better. And here you are, like you fucked off and fucked your brother off with you along the way. And it's just I was playing like a tug of war in my head. And then my mom says that she's gonna get custody of my brother's baby. And she's like, but I'm gonna need help. And I was like, okay. She's like, I'm gonna need help because I have cancer. Stage 3 cancer, breast cancer. So when you hear cancer, you think somebody else is gonna die. And I'm like, oh, damn, here we go. Like I'm gonna have to like really put on my big girl panties and get this shit together. So I did it. Here I am. I'm going on 3 years clean. I live next door to my mom to where I can help my mom with my niece. I have all my kids in my life. I have one of them lives with me. Um, it's just like I'm so glad I got my shit together when I did. Like I would have missed out on everything that I have right now.
You still go to meetings?
I don't go to meetings. I didn't really do like the NA or the AA. Like I did it, of course, like when I first got out and stuff like that. But I was on probation. I was in drug court, and that's what helped me. Drug court really helped me get my life together.
Yeah, I've heard of that a lot. I mean, I was almost put on it myself.
Yeah.
But I didn't live in state, and they didn't feel like dealing with me, so they released me.
Drug court was whew, that program was very intense. Like you have to call the NA line every day. Um, you have to go to classes. You have to go. You have a probation officer, a caseworker, a counselor, and you have to like talk to all of them, all your appointments. It's just really,
And really, what?
it's really intense.
How long were you in drug court for?
So it's an 18-month program, and I was in there for 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
It definitely so that means you recently got out of it?
I got out of it, I want to say about a year ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think it has anything to do with why you're still sober?
It does. It has everything to do with it. The structure and the routine that I was on really helped me get my life together. Like, they keep you busy, like they keep like a really close eye on you. You have somebody to hold you accountable. Um, it really, really did help me. And even when I got off of probation, I was like, oh shit, did I call the UA line? Like, it was just like shit like that. Did I call my counselor? Like, it was just weird. And even like a couple of weeks ago, I was like, am I supposed to call the UA line? And my daughter's like, Mom, you're not on probation. I was like, oh, but it's just something that was so repetitive. Like, it's just weird.
Yeah, I can imagine. So you went through 6 different rehabs before it worked? Who kept who kept asking you to go? Your mom?
My mom, excuse me, my mom, my grandma, my kids, everybody.
So you kept going for the wrong reasons.
I kept going because they wanted me to go. I kept going just so that I would get out and everything would be okay for a little bit. Oh, they'll start giving me money again and thinking I'm clean and I can go get high. It doesn't work like that.
I was just gonna say it doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. I mean, from 23, you went through 6 in how many years?
Just recent. I mean, it's 23. I just recently got sober 3 years ago, so I'm 38. So from 23 to about 34, 35.
That's intense.
I've even tried to detox at home. I had my mom like, I would tell her like, I'm gonna detox, just lock me in the room, check on me, make sure. I told her what to make sure, like I had Gatorades, Benadryl, NyQuil. I did it for one day and then I snuck out the window and left.
Right out the window.
Right out the window.
I did the same thing where I told my parents I was going to detox. They asked me to go to the first time they asked me to go to rehab. I told them I would do it at home, and I was in the basement, and that's where my bedroom was, and I kept sneaking out and going. I snuck out one time, and I got picked up from a guy who took me to my doctor who was prescribing me the 30s. So I got I snuck out. I got picked up. I went 15 minutes out of my way to where the doctors were. Got my script. Went another 15 minutes back and went to the pharmacy. Waited an hour for them to fill my script, and then went back home and snuck in the house. I was gone for like 2 to 3 hours. But
Oh,
I told my mom, like, hey, I'm exhausted. Can you please not run the wash for the next like 4 or 5 hours? Because I'm gonna try to get some sleep. So I had like bought myself some time where my mom wouldn't come downstairs,
just so
and
you can go and get it.
just so I could go and buy myself some time. And at the time, I was getting 120 Roxy 30s and 120 Xanax bars.
Shit.
But I would go through them in like 5, 6 days.
That's what I was just telling my daughter because they prescribed her. She has C-section, so they prescribed her hydrocodones. She's like, Mom, I'm gonna need more pain pills, and I'm like, before you couldn't even tell me you had pain pills because I'd be going through all your shit looking for them. And I'm like, how many do you take? She's like, 1, and I was like, damn, I remember I used to take 9 of them in one hit, and she's like, 9, you'll be dead, and I was like, well, I didn't die.
Didn't die.
I'm still here. And I just remember like you look for any little thing just to get you high, just so that you.
Did you play that game every day where like you woke up? Did you ever save yourself a little bit, or was there no saving?
I say I had to. Actually, me and my husband were we were this last time. My last 2 kids are from him, and we've been together 7 years, and we were in active addiction together. And I remember like we would buy some dope the night before, we would do some at night, and we would make sure to have some for the morning because either he had to go to work, and I just needed to make sure I wasn't sick while he was at work. So we used to like save some for the morning, or I would like he would give me my half, and I would save some for the morning, and then save some while he was at work.
That's impressive. I could never save it. I would always buy in bulk and then just go through it like doing 10 in a night. and it just didn't even faze me. Then the next morning, wake up and do it all over again. Find money, find a
Yep.
dealer, go pick up. I was driving an hour and a half to meet my dealer each way, um,
Oh shit.
just to get more pills.
My
And
I had a dealer that would come and drop it off to us, and then we had another one that was 2 streets away from where we lived.
there was a bunch of times where I paid somebody to drive out to me with the pills. That makes sense? Like I would
Yeah.
pay somebody like $100 because I was so sick I couldn't drive. And
Ah.
I remember the one night sitting in my garage waiting for him to show up, and I was just withdrawing so bad, and I kept telling myself, "All right, you're getting 20. Just do 2 tonight, and you'll have plenty for tomorrow." And I could always take a giant line, like a big ass line, and the kid shows up with a buddy of his, because he didn't want to take the drive alone, and he shows up, and he's like, "I was telling him how you can do 6 at once. You should show him." And right away,
There goes your 6.
there goes 6 of my 20. And it wasn't enough. I still had to get to sleep that night, and so I had to do another 2 to get some sleep. And it was just the insanity of that what we go through just to like
Just to
stay
feel
high.
that high.
Well, we don't gotta live that life anymore.
Oh, I thank God every day. Like, I have, it's like I was telling my daughter, like, yes, I have a house now that I pay rent for, my own rent. I have my 2-year-old has his own room. We don't live in a 1 bedroom or like staying at my mom's house in her house in one room together. Like, I have a pretty fucking amazing life. Like, it could, of course, everything could always be better. And of course, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not where I used to be. And waking up in the morning and being able, like, to watch my grandkids, for my kids to come have breakfast over here with us, doing family things, or to even be with one of my kids' fathers in the same house raising our kids is like, and we're both sober, is like, fuck, I'm doing something right. Like, we're both doing something fucking right.
How much sober time does he have?
Well, he was in prison. He went to prison in October, when the month before I went to rehab. But I know, like, the stories, some of his stories that I would hear, like, I knew he was still getting high. It wasn't off of heroin. They were more into that K2 in prison. And when he got out, he just got out in April. When he got out, I thought I was gonna have more problems than what I did. Luckily, he's only relapsed one time, but I threw him out of my house. I didn't know what I was gonna do. Like, if I would tell my mom and his mom, like, if I ever find him with a syringe, I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do. Well, I find, so what happened was that my daughter, when she was younger, she used to get really depressed, and she had started taking Xanax. And she was cleaning her room up, and she found a Xanax. And she tells my husband, like, just out of a conversation, she really didn't think he was gonna do it, but you can't give us addicts, like, throw some dope into our face like that, and we're just fresh, like, out of prison or whatever. She's like, "Hey, I got a Xanax." She's like, "I'm gonna throw it away." And he's like, "No, give it to me." Well, he said he had it for 2 days. He didn't pop it till the second day. And when he got home, I was like, "What's wrong with you? Like, what do you want?" And he's like, "I'm not on nothing, but you can tell when somebody's on some dope."
Especially Xanax.
Yeah.
I mean,
So I remember looking at him, and I'm like, "Dude, you need to get your shit and you need to get the fuck out of my house." And he's like, "I'm not on nothing. You're tripping." I called my mother-in-law, and I'm like, "You come get him now, because I know he's on some shit." I said, "It's gonna get ugly." And she's like, "Okay, calm down. I'm on my way." She got here, I want to say, like 7 minutes. And comes inside, and I'm like, "Look at him, look at him." Like, you could tell. Slurring, like acting really stupid. So when he went outside to go sit outside with her, I was like, "Man, if I wasn't on dope, where the hell would I fucking hide this shit?" So fucked up on Xanax that you don't even care where you're hiding your shit.
you don't
I
even remember.
open, yeah, I opened the drawer. It's the syringe is right there on top, full of dope. It probably had, like, I want to say, like 40 units. I remember seeing it, and I'm like, my heart dropped. I felt like there's something in my throat that, oh my God. Oh, I just remember the ugliest feeling. I went outside and I shot all the dope out of the syringe, and I'm like, now you get your shit and you get the fuck out of my house. I locked the door. I came inside. I remember him begging to come back inside. He went to his grandma's that night. He ended up coming back to my house. I had to call the cops on him because I didn't want him around. Like, stay like that for like 3 weeks till I let him back in. He's been sober ever since.
That's awesome. Not the situation,
Yeah.
but the fact that he learned a lesson. It seems like.
Yeah, and the fact that I was able to throw that shit out. Like, like I would always tell myself, like, what am I gonna do if I ever find a syringe full of dope? And just, I don't know, I felt so proud of myself. Like, I just got this syringe and I shot the dope out and locked the door. I told my mother, I'm sorry, but my son comes first and I will protect my son at all costs. I said, my kids, they're older. The older ones, like 18 and up. I said, but my little one is 2 and he's the one that I have to protect. And ever since, he's been sober.
And that 2-year-old was his dad, right?
Yes. Yeah.
It takes what it takes sometimes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like sometimes Crystal is just you. I'm sure you were like a year and a half into your recovery when you found that dope.
No, this was recently in April.
Oh, that's what I mean. So you were like, this was 2.5 years into your.
2.5 years.
It's a long time, but at the same time,
it's short time.
It's a never long enough.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. It does never make long enough time to be confronted with your drug of choice. And then having to wait, how did you get into meth? Just because cocaine stopped working?
Well, I had gotten out of prison, and when I got out of prison the second time, me and my brother that passed away, we were like 2 peas in a pod. Like, oof. He was my little brother, but if it makes sense, he was my little big brother. Like, he was bigger than me. He was my protector.
I was gonna say he's your protector.
Mm-hmm. And I remember I went to his house and we were just gonna smoke some weed, pop some Xanax. See, there you go. I didn't care about just coming out of prison. I just wanted to get high. So when I went to his house, I seen him like hitting the bowl, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Smoking some ice. It's the new heroin." And I'm like, "What the hell? There's nothing better than heroin." Like, that's what I'm thinking in my head. And I was like, "Well, how do you do it?" And he's like, these were his words. The bigger the cloud, the bigger the high. And I'm like, what? And I remember like trying it. I was like, oh, I don't like this shit. And then by the end of the night, I was hitting the bowl, hitting the bowl, hitting the bowl, hitting the bowl.
Didn't take long.
Not at all. Not at all.
Well, I'm glad that you're sober today. You're talking about your story. It's never easy reliving the story sometimes. Just because all the shit you've been through between, losing your dad at an early age. Because I'm sure you weren't seeing him in prison, were you?
I had seen him up until I was maybe about 13, 14, and I never went back after that, of course, because I had started like getting involved with boys and my son's father, and it just...
You were drinking and using.
I was too busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a relationship with him now?
Yeah, he lives across the freeway from me.
That's awesome. Yeah. You got your family all close by.
Yeah, and which is good because, like I said, I wanted to be here to help my mom with my niece. Her mother was in active addiction too, so when we took custody of her, it was just, it was really hard, but I had to, like, I would tell myself, like, I'm doing this because this little girl has nobody else. I don't want this little girl to go through what my kids went through.
How's your mom doing now?
My mom's doing good. She's doing really good. We're going through court with the mother of my niece's mom. She's sober now. So that's going pretty good.
I mean, with the cancer?
The cancer, she's in remission.
Good.
Yeah, they had it removed.
That's awesome because I know my dad was diagnosed with stage 4 and colon cancer, and he only lasted like a year. So I know how devastating that can be to even find out. and then to have that constant, and I was in sobriety when that happened. So, and then my
Sorry.
wife was diagnosed with MS. So
Oh,
like I had a lot going on, but I saw myself staying sober through all those. And to me right now, coming up on 4 years in February,
woo, congratulations.
thank you. I didn't know I could even last this long. This is the first time I'm going to have an actual anniversary though, because my sober date is leap day.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, that sucks.
So it sucks, but it's fun at the same time to say
Yeah.
sober day is leap day. And I haven't touched pills in 4.5 years.
Oh, that's good.
So, but I thought I could drink like a regular person, so I continued. No, it
You
didn't.
can't.
It did not work out for me.
Yeah.
I still didn't go back to the pills, but my drinking had increased towards the end to like a bottle a night, and
Wow.
I wasn't waking up hungover though, so I thought it was okay. And then
Yeah.
that morning, I woke up hungover as shit. And I said to my wife, like, either we got to quit drinking today or I got to start drinking right now. Those are the two things that need to happen. And she's like, okay, I'll quit with you. So we both haven't had a drink since then.
Wow, that's good. Congratulations.
And it's easier to have a support system, as you know, and that's very aware of your addiction. I talk openly with it with my mom and my brother and sister. They're fine. They don't have an addictive bone in their body. Um,
Wow.
but I was the black sheep in the family that went through everything to get where I am today.
Yep.
So I know how tough it is. So, and I've told my story a bunch of times. It gets easier to tell your story when you've said it a bunch of times.
Oh, yeah.
Early on, telling it, it was really rough to try to get through, but it is a cathartic feeling.
Yeah.
So, thank you again for taking the time to sit down with me and go back and forth and tell me some of your story.
Well, thank you so much. And just trying. It's like my brother would always tell me, like, God only gives his hardest battles to his strongest soldiers. And I just, every time I'm going through something rough, I think about that. Like, come on, God wouldn't give me something I can't handle. Like, I've been through all of this shit. Like, God's not finished with me. Like, He's got something else for me. And now I'm trying to bring I haven't like really, really like tried like the way I want to because I don't know where to start. But I'm doing like the first rally here in Texas for fentanyl awareness. It's on the 14th of October. So that's gonna be like the first actual rally here in San Antonio, and I'm just doing whatever I can now to keep my brother's memory alive. Like if we can help one person, we know that he didn't die. Like
Yeah, because fentanyl is the most dangerous of all of them by far. It's killed more people. I think in 2020, it 100,000 people overdosed, like
yeah,
105,000 people overdosed, and 70,000 of that 100,000 was all fentanyl.
yeah,
Like that's a shitload. That's 70% of over deadly, not even just overdoses, but deadly overdoses where the person died. That's a crazy fucking number out of 365 days to have 70,000.
it's crazy because my last overdose was on fentanyl, and I didn't know it was fentanyl. I had like when I overdosed, my son's father called the paramedics, and they're with the group called Cicada that came the next day after I overdosed, and they brought me a pouch, and in that pouch it had something to test my drugs, and it would let me know if it had fentanyl in it. But he ended up getting arrested. I ended up turning myself into rehab, so it was like I just remember finding them after I got out of rehab, and I just threw everything away.
That's good. I'm glad you're on the path you're on. I'm glad you have the outlook you have on it. I'm glad you're doing the rally for fentanyl because it doesn't get easy. I mean, it does get easier, but to relive some of those memories, it definitely, you're never used to talking about somebody in the past tense.
Oh yeah,
It's a weird feeling to talk about somebody in the past tense.
it's very very weird.
But look at you now.
Yeah, thank you. Look at you too.
Yep, it takes what it takes.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So, but thank you again, Crystal. I'll talk to you later.
All right, thank you.
All right, bye bye.